Well, I finally picked up one of these beauties. But not the only thing that's not beautiful in this video is how the Calgary Flames have been playing. And of course, they also made a significant trade. You know what I mean, as it's time for another episode of... Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and welcome back to another episode of my Calgary Flames in 6. Here we're up to Season 4, it's episode number 9, as we'll talk about games 43 to 48 in the 2021-22 NHL regular season. And what's unique about these next 6 games is that they were all at home, and also the fact this is when the Calgary Flames were starting to play catch-up from all those games that were postponed back in December. And Flames were already looking pretty good with all those games in hand, but they're only games in hand if we make good use of them. And I'm going to say, I say we did very, very well in making good use of those said games in hand. And not only we are playing beautifully, we are looking beautifully in this as well. So before I get into my notes, as I always like to say, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, home the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders, I mostly do talk Calgary sports on my YouTube channel where we recap games and stories and all that. I also do a variety of non-sports content like personal vlogs, attempt to comedy, and also share experience when I'm on the road as a sporting fan. And I've done some vlogging to go when I have had time, so I appreciate like subscribe both here on my main channel as well as my second channel on my Brett Hornby Shorts. So before I bring up my notes, let's talk about how the previous 6 games went for the Calgary Flames. And I'm going to say this episode cannot go any more better than it did, I would say. So let's start off with game 43. This was happened on Wednesday, February the 9th, as the Calgary Flames were back at home. This was supposed to be the Olympic break, but with all the games being postponed and players not going over to Beijing for the 2022 Winter Olympics, this period where the NHL had been shut down would have been meant for playing catch-up. So all the games were playing catch-up, because originally this game was scheduled to be on Saturday, January 15th, but they postponed to then. So how did things go against the Vegas Golden Knights, a big divisional rival team, one of the teams that we are chasing in the Pacific Division? Well, I'm going to say it worked out very, very well. I shall say, as in the first period, the Calgary Flames did score first, as it went to Johnny Gaudreau, who scored his 19th goal of the season. This happened at 5:03 to make it 1-0 for Calgary. And then the Calgary Flames scored a couple more goals just in the first period. First one, or the second goal, went to Michael Backlund. He is 7th of the season. That made it 2-0 for Calgary at 12:24 in the first period. And then later in the first period, Elias Lindholm, he got his 16th goal of the season at 15:06 of the first period. So Calgary had a 3-0 lead. And that's actually how things stood after the first period, as the Calgary Flames definitely really outplayed the Vegas Golden Knights, outshooting them 14-5 in the first period alone. So going into the second period, well, Andrew Mangiapane, I guess he can score at home too as well, as he did score his 21st of the season at the 6:57-minute mark of the second period. So Calgary now took a 4-0 lead. That was the only goal in the second period. So the Calgary Flames were looking really good, up 4-0 against the Vegas Golden Knights. And then going into the third period, well, the Calgary Flames struck again fairly early, as Matthew Tkachuk scored on his 21st of the season at 3:09 of the third period to make it 5-0 for Calgary. And then Andrew Mangiapane scored his second of the game on a power play at 15:54 to make it 6-0. That was his 22nd of the season. So the only thing that we had to figure out is, will this game end in a shutout? And it did for the Calgary Flames, as the Calgary Flames won this one 6-0 at the Vegas Golden Knights to close the gap on first in the Pacific Division with all these games in hand, which meant they're only good unless you win them. So the Calgary Flames won this one 6-0. They also outshot the Vegas Golden Knights 33-28 overall, and this was Jacob Markstrom in net. So that was shutout number 8 for Jacob Markstrom at this point. Keep in mind the franchise record for most shutouts in the season is 10. That was when Mika Kiprusoff set that mark when he won the Vezina Trophy in 2005-06 season. So leading the way for the Calgary Flames, while Michael Backlund actually led the way with a goal and 3 assists for 4 points. Matthew Tkachuk had a goal and 2 assists for 3 points, and Noah Hanifin chipped in with 2 assists. And of course, manager Mangiapane chipped in with 2 goals. And then Jacob Markstrom made 28 saves for the shutout for the Vegas Golden Knights. It was Robert Leonard who was in net. He made 27 saves for the Vegas Golden Knights. So the Calgary Flames start off, this is a 7-game homestand, playing catch-up with a win. At that point, that was their 4th win in a row at that point in the season. So that was game number 43. So game 44, this happened on the next night on Thursday, February the 10th, as the Calgary Flames were taking on another top team in the NHL in the Toronto Maple Leafs. This game was also a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome, and this game was originally scheduled from Thursday, December the 16th. So how did things go with the Toronto Maple Leafs in this one? Well, there was no scoring to report in the first period, but the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'm going to say in this one, outplayed the Calgary Flames by outshooting them for much of this game. So there was no scoring in the first period, but the Toronto Maple Leafs had an edge in shots at 18-11. There were definitely a lot of penalties in this one, as there were a lot of... actually, the first thing to mention before we get into the second period, a big hit happened in this game, as it was Nikita Zadorov who took a big hit, but he was a much taller player. That definitely started off a scrum late in the first period with Morgan Riley for Toronto, as well as William Nylander from that big hit from Nikita Zadorov. So that's another thing we should highlight. That happened in the first period. There was no scoring, but the Nikita Zadorov hit definitely was the highlight of the first period. Still no scoring, I should say, at that point. Going into the second period, it was actually the Toronto Maple Leafs who scored first, as there was Rasmus Sandin who got his second of the season at 3:49. So Toronto struck first in the second period to get 1-0. However, it was Andrew Mangiapane who struck just over 30 seconds later at 4:13. That was 23rd of the season. So now it was 1-1 after just past the 4-minute mark of the second period. And then the Calgary Flames scored 3 goals in a matter of just under 3 minutes, as Noah Hanifin took his Calgary up 2-1 as he scored his 5th of the season at 13:03, and then Oliver Shillington on a power play got Calgary up 3-1, his 6th of the season at 13:35, and then Elias Lindholm got his 17th of the season for Calgary at 15:54 of the second period. So now it was 4-1 for Calgary at that point, and that's how things stood for Calgary after the second period with a 4-1 lead, as there was a William Nylander hooking on Johnny Gaudreau right after that goal on the faceoff that set up eventually the Oliver Shillington power play goal. So going into the third period, well, the Calgary Flames scored another one early in the third period. It was defenseman Rasmus Anderson who got his second of the season at 1:16-minute mark to make it 5-1 for Calgary, and then ultimately Toronto did get one to get within 3, but that was as close as it got. It was Matthew Bunning who got his 14th of the season at 5:06. So ultimately, the Calgary Flames won this one with a 5-2 victory. However, the Toronto Maple Leafs did outshoot the Calgary Flames 48-26 in this one, so I'm going to say Jacob Markstrom definitely stood on his head in this one. So as I say, Calgary won this one 5-2, so ultimately leading the way for the Calgary Flames, while he had Rasmus Harris with a goal and assist for 2 points. Michael Backlund had 2 assists, and as well as Noah Hanifin had a goal and an assist for 2 points. And Jacob Markstrom, he made 46 saves for the Calgary Flames in this one. He was the busier goalie. No one had a multi-point game for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it was Jack Campbell who was in that for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He made 21 saves for the Toronto Maple Leafs in that one. So Calgary ultimately won this one 5-2, and I'm going to say they were a little bit outplayed, but all wins count the same. So that is win number 5 for the Calgary Flames at that point, excuse me. So that was game 44 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So game 45, this happened on Saturday, February the 12th, as after the Calgary Flames played some tougher teams. The Calgary Flames have played some teams lower in the standings. So the next game was against the New York Islanders. That was an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome. This game originally was rescheduled from Tuesday, January the 11th. So how did things go against the New York Islanders for the Calgary Flames in this one? As Calgary did start off fairly strong, as it was Adam Ruzicka who scored the first goal of the game. First one for Calgary. They started the season at 9:58. So Calgary had a 1-0 lead at that point in the first period. However, Noah Dobson did get New York Islanders on the board with a power play goal at 17:07. That was his 7th of the season to make it 1-1 at that point. However, Chris Tanev, a minute later, got Calgary back on the board in the lead, 2-1 at 18:08. So Calgary took a 2-1 lead, and that's how things stood after the first period. Calgary up 2-1. So then going into the second period, there was a fight we should highlight first that happened in the second period. It was Eric Branson who was fighting with Ross Johnston in the 12:01 minute mark of the second period. So it was still 2-1 for Calgary at that point in the season. However, later in the second period, Calgary was able to add to their lead to make it 3-1, as it was Andrew Mangiapane, who suddenly has heated up at home, scored his 24th of the season to make it 3-1. He scored at the 15:32 minute mark of the second period. However, John Gabriel Pajot got New York back within 1, as he scored his 6th of the season at 16:50. So we had a 3-2 game at that point, and that's how things stood after the second period. Going into the third period, well, Eric Branson, after having the fight in the second period, he scored the go-ahead goal for the Calgary Flames, as he scored his 2nd of the season at 8 minutes exactly to make it 4-2 for Calgary at that point. And then Elias Lindholm scored the dagger for the Calgary Flames at 15:13 to make it 5-2. So ultimately the Calgary Flames, they won this game by taking a 5-2 victory. And they also did outshoot the New York Islanders 29-21 overall. So this kind of was that perfect game, I would say, for the Calgary Flames that would make the brass happy, limiting the opponent to just over 20 shots. The only player that had a multi-point game in this game actually was Adam Ruzicka, who had a goal and assist. And then Jacob Markstrom, he made 19 saves for Calgary. In that, when it comes to the New York Islanders, it was John Gabriel Pajot who had a multi-point game with a goal and assist. And it was Ilya Sorokin who was in that for the Ilya Sorokin, as I meant to say, was in net for the New York Islanders. He made 24 saves for the Islanders in the 5-2 loss. So that was game number 45 against the New York Islanders. So before the next game, the Calgary Flames did actually make a trade on February the 14th, as the Calgary Flames did make a trade with the Montreal Canadiens, as the Calgary Flames did acquire forward Tyler Toffoli. In exchange to go into the Montreal Canadiens is forward Tyler Pitlick, prospect forward and Emil Hyman, who we acquired from the Sam Bennett trade deadline last year. And then 2 draft picks are going to Montreal. A 2022 first round pick that's top 10 protected, and a 2023 fifth round pick going to Montreal's way, if that pick happens to be in the top 10, which I'm going to say I better not, given how the Calgary Flames are going at this point. Those picks will be pushed back a year later. So that is the Tyler Toffoli trade. I did make my video right here talking about more in depth. So the Calgary Flames did make a trade for Tyler Toffoli between these games 45 and 46. So that's just the quick rundown of the trade that we made with the Montreal Canadiens. So game 46, this happened on Tuesday, February the 15th, as the Calgary Flames were hosting the Columbus Blue Jackets. That was a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome, and that game originally was rescheduled from Saturday, December the 18th. And yes, Tyler Toffoli actually made his Calgary Flame debut in this game. So how did Tyler Toffoli do for the Calgary Flames in this game, as well as the whole team itself, given that now we're on a 6-game winning streak, coming in against the Columbus Blue Jackets, another team that is way below them in the standings? Well, Calgary started off strong early as Eric Branson, who got his second goal in 2 games, as he got his third of the season at the 2:10-minute mark of the first period. So Calgary took an early 1-0 lead at that point, and then Calgary made it 2-0 later in the first period, as it was Elias Lindholm who got his 19th of the season to make it 2-0 at 16:30. However, it was Adam Boqvist, who got Columbus on the board at the 17:50 mark of the first period, his 9th of the season. That made it 2-1 for Calgary at that point, and that's how things stood after the first period. Calgary leading 2-1 at that point. But in the second period and the third period, I'm going to say the Calgary Flames definitely outplayed the Columbus Blue Jackets and really took the scheme away. Well, early in the second period, Tyler Toffoli made his presence known as he drew a penalty, as he got an interference call. Brandon Gotts interfered with Tyler Toffoli, so at least he drew a penalty in his Calgary Flame debut. But going into the second period, it wasn't until late in the second period that the Calgary Flames were able to add to their lead after outshooting the Columbus Blue Jackets 17-4, while Matthew Tkachuk scored his 22nd goal of the season to make it 3-1 at the 15:44-minute mark of the second period. And then Dylan Dubé, who got a short-handed goal, his 5th of the season, within the final minute of the second period at 19:13. So Calgary had a 4-1 lead. And that's how things stood after the second period. Calgary up 4-1. Now going into the third period, well, Adam Ruzicka scored another goal of his season, 4th of the season at 6:39 to make it 5-1 for Calgary at that point in the third period. However, Zach Werenski made it 5-2 for Calgary at 8:08 of the third period to make it 5-2. And then later in the third period, Tyler Toffoli, he definitely scored a highlight reel goal, stretching the goalie, his 10th of the season, first to the Calgary Flame at the 11:04-minute mark of the third period to make it 6-2. So yes, Tyler Toffoli did draw a penalty and get a goal in his Calgary Flame debut. And ultimately, the Calgary Flames won this one 6-2, and they also outshot the Columbus Blue Jackets. They were a little easier on them this time, as they outshot them 41-20. Because if you recall, the last time when the Calgary Flames played the Columbus Blue Jackets, they took 62 shots in net for a new franchise record. So they only were able to muster 41 shots in this game. So leading the way for the Calgary Flames in this one, well, Elias Lindholm had a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. And then Johnny Gaudreau chipped in with 2 assists. And then, of course, this was the big debut for the Calgary Flames forward in Tyler Toffoli. And then there was Dan Vladar, who was actually in net for the Calgary Flames in this one, as Jacob Markstrom had the game off. He made 18 saves for Calgary, while the Columbus Blue Jackets, no one had a multi-point game for the Columbus Blue Jackets, plus Elvis Merzlikins, who was in net for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He made 35 saves for Columbus. So that was game number 46, as the Calgary Flames won their 7th row at the time, and making the debut of Tyler Toffoli a winner. So game 47, this happened the next night on Wednesday, February the 16th, as the Calgary Flames were hosting the Anaheim Ducks. This was a 7:30 puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome, and this game originally was rescheduled from Tuesday, December the 21st. How did the Calgary Flames look against the Anaheim Ducks in this one? Another team that's kind of within the thick of it when it comes to the playoff race. Well, starting off early, the Calgary Flames did actually score the first goal, as it was Dylan Dubé who got his 6th of the season at the 5:34 minute mark of the first period. So Calgary took a 1-0 lead at that point. And then Elias Lindholm, a player that suddenly has turned it on lately for the Calgary Flames, scored his 20th of the season on a power play at the 12:55 minute mark of the first period. So Calgary had a 2-0 lead at that point, and that's how things stood after the first period, as Calgary had a 2-0 lead. Later in the first period, though, there was a heavyweight fight, as it was Leon Lucic for Calgary and Nicholas Lowers for Anaheim fought at the 14:12 minute mark. So there was a heavyweight matchup that also happened in the first period as well. So Calgary still led 2-0 at that point. However, Anaheim did get on the board early in the second period. It was Tony Milano who got his 10th of the season at 1:35. So now it was 2-1 Calgary at that point. However, Elias Lindholm got his second goal of the game just over 2 minutes later to make it 3-1 for Calgary, as he scored at the 3:43 minute mark. So Calgary now had a 3-1 lead at that point. And then Matthew Tkachuk scored his 23rd of the season on the power play at 4:24. So Calgary now had a 4-1 lead at that point. And that was all the scoring to report in the second period. So Calgary had a 4-1 lead going into the third period. Going into the third period, Anaheim did add another to their tally, as it was Isaac Lindstrom who got his 12th of the season. He scored that one short-handed at the 4:26 minute mark to make it 4-2 for Calgary. At that point, however, that was as close as the Anaheim Ducks would be to the Calgary Flames, as Calgary was able to get an empty net goal, as there was still over 3.5 minutes to go in the third period. Johnny Gaudreau put it away in the empty net, his 20th of the season at 16:48 to make it 5-2. And then Calgary added another goal with the goalie back in the net, as it was Andrew Mangiapane who got his 25th of the season at 17:51 to make it 6-2 for Calgary. And just in back-to-back nights, the Calgary Flames won 6-2 at home, and they also outshot the Anaheim Ducks 43-28 overall. So the Calgary Flames now at this point have won 8 games in a row. Last time the Flames actually won 8 games in a row was, if you go back to the 2019-20 season, the Calgary Flames won 8 in a row after when Bill Peters was resigned as coach of the Calgary Flames and Jeff Ward took over. So that was the last time the Calgary Flames won 8 games in a row. So leading the way for the Calgary Flames, well, there were definitely a lot of multi-point games. Rasmus Anderson actually had 3 assists. Johnny Gaudreau had a goal and 2 assists. So was Matthew Tkachuk. And then Sean Monahan had 2 assists. And then Elias Lindholm had 2 goals and assists for 3 points. Dylan Dubé had a goal and 2 assists. And Jacob Markstrom was back in net for Calgary. He made 26 saves. While leading the way for the Anaheim Ducks was Evan Lindstrom, who got a goal and an assist for 2 points. And then when it comes to the goaltending story, well, John Gibson, he started in net for Calgary, or Anaheim. He made 16 saves and 20 shots, and they got replaced by Anthony Stolarz, who made 21 saves and 22 shots. So, guess we got in the head of John Gibson in that one. So that was game number 47 for the Calgary Flames. So game 48, this will be the last game in this episode before we move on to other business. As the Calgary Flames on Saturday, February 29th, they were finally got to take the Seattle Kraken at home. This game originally was rescheduled from Thursday, December the 23rd. And this was the regular season, much anticipated regular season return for former captain Mark Giordano. So how did the Calgary Flames do against the Seattle Kraken in this one? Well, the Calgary Flames did have a nice video tribute for Mark Giordano at the start of the game, but he definitely made some storylines at the end of this game too. But first, the Calgary Flames did score early in the first period, as it was Matthew Tkachuk, who's got his 24th of the season at 3:02. So Calgary had a 1-0 lead. However, Kelly Youngquirk for the Seattle Kraken did tie it up at the 12:26 minute mark to make it 1-1 at that point. And that's how things stood after the first period, with the game tied up at 1-1. However, the Calgary Flames definitely outplayed the Seattle Kraken for most of this game, as it was Philip Grubauer who definitely stood tall for the Seattle Kraken this one, which definitely has been frustrating for Kraken this year, is that they had to get goaltending, no scoring, or to get scoring, no goaltending. Second period, there was no scoring to report, so we still had a 1-1 game going into the third period. And then in the third period, it started off early with a fight. As early 5 seconds into the third period, Blake Coleman for Calgary and Ryan Donato fought just to spark things up. And then we'll talk about what happened at the end of the period. However, still 1-1, Calgary Flames still pressing. Well, ultimately, the Calgary Flames did get the go-ahead goal, as it was Elias Lindholm who got his 22nd this season at 7:31 of the second period to make it 2-1 for Calgary. This game definitely stayed 2-1 for much of the game. Jacob Markstrom definitely had to make some big saves for the Calgary Flames, and ultimately the Calgary Flames managed to hang on and win this one 2-1 for their 9th win of the 9th straight win. However, interesting at the end of the game, Mark Giordano and Matthew Tkachuk had a little roughing right at the buzzer. So Mark Giordano definitely made his presence known at the end of the game, but ultimately, as I say, the Calgary Flames won this one 2-1 for the 9th straight win. So every game in this episode, they won every game. And I think that's the first time that's ever happened in my game recaps. And this was game 6 of 7 on their homestand. So Calgary's definitely been making hay at home and making up those games. So it's definitely reflecting in the standings. So the Calgary Flames also shot the Seattle Kraken 37-23 overall. And the only player that had two players that had multi-point games for the Calgary Flames. It was Matthew Tkachuk and Elias Lindholm with a goal and 2 assists. And then it was Jacob Markstrom made 22 saves for Calgary. No one had a multi-point game for the Seattle Kraken, but Phil Grubauer, he made 35 saves for the Seattle Kraken. So that is how the game Flames flipped in the last 6 games. So that was game number 48. So after 48 games, well, the Calgary Flames are now 29-13-6 for 64 points, which actually now puts them solely first in the Pacific Division. So now we'll take a look at the stats and standings, shall we? So leading the way for the Calgary Flames right now is Johnny Gaudreau. After 48 games, he has 20 goals, 43 assists for 63 points. Second after 48 games is Matthew Tkachuk in 24 games, or he has 24 goals, 32 assists for 56 points. Third in scoring is Elias Lindholm after 48 games. He has 22 goals, 26 assists for 48 points. Fourth in scoring is Andrew Mangiapane in 28 games. He has 25 goals, 8 assists for 33 points. Right up top 5 is Rasmus Andersson. After 48 games, he has 2 goals, 25 assists for 27 points. And then when it comes to the goaltending story of the game, or goaltending story I should say overall, Jacob Markstrom after 38 games, he is 22-10-0 with 5 overtime losses. 209 goals against average, 927 save percentage, and 8 shutouts. Dan Vidar, he has played in 11 games, 10 started. He is 7-3-0-1 with the goals against average of 258, save percentage 911, and 2 shutouts. So our goaltending story looks pretty good, I would say, for the Calgary Flames. I'm actually just curious about the stats and standings for the rest of the league. Well, like I say, the Calgary Flames are leading the Western or the Pacific Division right now with 64 points in 48 games. Second place is the Vegas Golden Knights. They have 60 points in 50 games. So Calgary has a 4-point lead on Vegas, still 2 games in hand. The Edmonton Oilers are third. They have 59 points in 49 games. Los Angeles Kings got 59 points in 50 games. And Ducks, they have 57 points in 52 games. Vancouver Canucks, they have 52 points in 51 games. San Jose Sharks, 49 points in 48 games. Then the Seattle Kraken, they have 36 points in 51 games. So that's the Pacific. Central Division, well, the Colorado Avalanche are leading the way in the Western Conference and the Central. They have 76 points in 49 games. Then the St. Louis Blues, they have 64 points in 49 games. Minnesota Wild, they have 63 points in 46 games. Nashville Predators are in fourth, 6 points in 50 games. Dallas Stars are at 56 points in 48 games. Winnipeg Jets, 52 points in 49 games. Chicago Blackhawks, 44 points in 52 games. Then the Arizona Coyotes, they have 28 points in 49 games. So if you now look out east, I think we know the 8 teams are likely going to make the playoffs when you look at the separation in the East. Well, the Florida Panthers lead the Atlantic. They have 75 points in 50 games. Tampa Bay Lightning have 70 points in 49 games. Toronto Maple Leafs, 67 points in 48 games. Boston Bruins, they have 60 points in 49 games. Then the Detroit Red Wings are fifth, 52 points in 51 games. Ottawa Senators, they have 41 points in 48 games. Then the Buffalo Sabres, they have 40 points in 50 games. Then the Montreal Canadiens, they got 27 points in 50 games, so that is the Atlantic. Metropolitan, you got the Carolina Hurricanes. They have 72 points in 49 games. Then you got the Pittsburgh Penguins with 70 points in 52 games. New York Rangers with 67 points in 49 games. Then the Washington Capitals, they have 45 points in 52 games. Then you got the Columbus Blue Jackets with 49 points in 48 games. New York Islanders, 43 points in 45 games. Philadelphia Flyers, 39 points in 49 games. And the New Jersey Devils, 39 points in 50 games. So there's definitely a separation in the Eastern Conference. So that is the quick stats and standing story. So now let's move on to the next segment in Stockton Heat Quick Hits. So let's bring that up. So just like the Calgary Flames, things are still pretty good for the Stockton Heat as well. As Game 39, this happened on Friday, February 11th, as the Stockton Heat were hosting the Ontario Reign. This was an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Stockton Arena. However, they lost that game 5-2. Emil Pedersen and Byron Fries each had a goal. Alex Glatt fought Jacob Doody, and then Martin Possible, he fought the coach's son and Daryl Sutter's son and Brett Sutter. And then Dustin Wolf, he made 26 saves. However, he was pulled after the fourth goal. Adam Werder made 5 saves, so things didn't start off well for the Stockton Heat. Game 40, this happened on Saturday, February 12th, as the Stockton Heat were taking on the Ontario Reign again. Once again, Stockton Arena, 7 p.m. puck drop. As the Stockton Heat, they won that one 6-5 in a shootout. You had Mark Simpson, Byron Fries, Justin Kirkland, Luke Phillip, and Emil Pedersen each of the goal. Mark Simpson and Justin Kirkland had an assist each as well. Martin Pospisil made the shootout winner, or scored the shootout winner. Connor Mackey fought Akil Thomas, and then Dustin Wolf made 29 saves in that game, so it was a wild one. And then the next game for the Stockton Heat was Game 41. This happened on Saturday, February the 19th. That's the Stockton Heat were at the Bakersfield Condors. This was at the Canucks Bank Arena, 8 p.m. puck drop. Stockton won that one 4-3 in a shootout. Justin Kirkland had a goal and an assist. Connor Mackey had 2 assists. Luke Phillip, Jacob Pelche each had a goal. And then it was Yusuf Alamaki who actually scored the shootout winner in the 5th round. And Adam Werder made 28 saves for Stockton. So the Stockton Heat, they're 28, 8-3-1 for 60 points. And they're also first in the Pacific Division in the American Hockey League. So when it comes to the top 5 in scoring for the Stockton Heat, Matthew Phillips, after 37 games, he has 18 goals, 21 assists for 39 points. Second is Jacob Pelche. After 39 games, he has 15 goals, 23 assists for 38 points. Third is Glenn Godwin. He has 37 games played, 12 goals, 23 assists for 35 points. And Luke Phillip, after 38 games, he has 13 goals, 12 assists for 25 points to round out the top 5. Connor Mackey, after 39 games, he has 5 goals, 19 assists for 24 points. Then when it comes to the goaltending story, well, Dustin Wolf, he's played in 26 games. He is 23-3-0, so that's still an insane record. With a 22 goals against average, however, no shutouts. Interesting, and his save percentage is 9.2-8. And then Adam Werner, the backup, in 14 games, he has a 8-4-1-1 record. His goals against average is 284, no shutouts, and a 894 goals against average. So that is the quick Stockton Heat quick hits. So now, if we look ahead to the next 6 games and the next episode for my Calgary Flames in 6, well, Game 49. This will be on Monday, February the 21st, as the Calgary Flames will wrap up their 7-game homestand and doing a big part of playing catch-up, as they'll be hosting the Winnipeg Jets. That'll be a 2 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Stadium. That's Family Day Monday. That game originally was rescheduled from Friday, December 31st. In Game 50, we're back to having games that originally were on the schedule. As on Thursday, February 24th, the Calgary Flames will be hosting the Vancouver Canucks. That'll be an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Rogers Arena. In Game 51, the Calgary Flames will be back at home, as they'll be hosting the Minnesota Wild. That'll be an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Stadium for Hockey Night in Canada. In Game 52 on Tuesday, March the 1st, the Calgary Flames will be going to Minnesota, as they'll be taking on the Minnesota Wild in Minnesota at the XL Energy Center. That will be a 3 p.m. or 6 p.m. puck drop, I was meant to say. And then on Game 53 on Thursday, March the 3rd, the Calgary Flames will be hosting the Montreal Canadiens, as they'll be 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Stadium. And then on Game 54, will be on Saturday, March the 5th, as the Calgary Flames. They'll be hosting the Colorado Avalanche. That'll definitely be a big showdown if the Flames and the Avalanche are tops in their each division. That will be an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Ball Arena. Then when it comes to the Stockton Heat, their next game will be 42. Will be on Sunday, February 20th, as the Stockton Heat will be hosting the Bakersfield Condors. That'll be a 6 p.m. puck drop at the Stockton Arena. Game 43, this will be on Friday, February 25th, as the Stockton Heat will be in Abbotsford, taking on the Abbotsford Canucks. 8 p.m. puck drop. And then on Game 44, Sunday, February 27th, the Stockton Heat will still be in Abbotsford, take on the Abbotsford Canucks. 5 p.m. puck drop. And then Game 45, this will be on Friday, March 4th. The Stockton Heat will be hosting the Bakersfield Condors. That'll be an 8 p.m. puck drop. And then Game 46 on Saturday, March the 5th, the San Jose Barracuda. Well, actually, the Stockton Heat will be hosting the San Jose Barracuda. That'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop. So that is all I have for my Calgary Flames in 6 for episode 9. Looking back on games 43 to 48. Definitely going to say, definitely liking how the Flames are looking right now. They've won 9 straight games. They've been looking very dominant at home, making hay at home, making hay with those games in hand that were postponed back in December. Definitely liking the trade for Tyler Toffoli. However, I'm not quite yet ready to say the Calgary Flames are Stanley Cup contenders. When you're looking at the strength of schedule and the fact, if you still remember, back in the early January, we definitely struggled against Carolina, Florida, and Tampa Bay. I'm going to say right now, I'm liking how the Flames look to at least, get out of the first round. We need to at least get out of the first round. But I'm not ready yet to start thinking we're contenders, and I'm not planning on making any parades yet, but I'm liking the progress that this team is making right now. And I'm going to say getting a jump on getting Tyler Toffoli a month before the trade deadline definitely is a big start. And let's see if the Calgary Flames can make it 10. As the Calgary Flames last won 10 straight was back in the 2016-17 season, where we had to win 10 in a row to make the playoffs that season. And then the other time that the Flames have won 10 in a row, they were the Atlanta Flames in 1977-78. So we'll see if the Calgary Flames continue to make history, as maybe we'll have 10 straight wins to start off the next episode. So anyway, so I'd like to say, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans' journey, home of the Flames, Hamilton Roughnecks, and Stampeders, I mostly do talk Calgary sports on my YouTube channel, where I recap games and stories and that. But I also do a variety of non-sports content, like personal blogs, attempt comedy. I also do short stories that I'm on the road or a sport event. And I've done some blogging to go, so if that all sounds like it'd be interesting to watch, to follow along with this Calgary sports fans' journey, you know what you do, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and also my other social links down in the description below for other ways you can follow me. Of course, I got my second channel, Brett Hornby Shorts, where I exclusively put my short form content on there, like, for example, quick game recaps for the Calgary Flames. So I appreciate like, subscribe both here on my main channel as well as my second channel. So I was definitely going to say go Flames go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.